Let me tell you about the moment I finally snapped. I was sitting at my kitchen table, staring at my bank statement, doing the math for the third time because I couldn't believe it. I'd gotten a raise that year, a decent one, 3.5%. I remember feeling proud when I got the news that somehow I had less money than the year before. Not on paper, my paycheck was bigger, but in real life, groceries cost more, gas cost more, rent went up, my insurance went up, everything I actually needed to buy was more expensive. And I remember thinking, what is the point of working harder if I just keep falling behind? I felt like I was on a treadmill, sprinting as fast as I could, but the speed kept increasing and I was still in the exact same spot. Maybe you felt this too. You're doing everything right. You're working, you're saving, you're being responsible, and yet it never feels like enough. Here's what nobody told me, and what they're probably not telling you. There's a thief in your house. You didn't invite them in on purpose. You don't even see them, but every single day, they're taking a little bit of your wealth, silently, legally, ruthlessly. It's not your boss. It's not the grocery store. It's not even taxes, at least not the kind you can see on a receipt. It's something far more insidious. And today, I'm going to show you exactly how it works, who it benefits, and, most importantly, how you fight back. Let's dive in. What is this invisible tax? The invisible tax I'm talking about is inflation. Now, before you roll your eyes and think, yeah, I know, prices go up, hang on, because inflation is not just things getting more expensive. That's the symptom. That's the smoke. The fire is something much deeper, the deliberate devaluation of the currency in your pocket. Let me explain with a simple picture. Imagine the entire economy is a giant bathtub. The money supply, all the dollars in circulation, is the water in that tub. Now, what happens when the central bank and the banking system create trillions of new dollars and pour them into that tub? The water level rises, right? But here's the key. That new money doesn't appear evenly for everyone. It doesn't just magically show up in your bank account. It gets injected at the top of the system through bank loans, government spending, asset purchases. The people closest to the money spigot, big corporations, financial institutions, the well-connected, they get to spend that fresh new money at today's prices before anyone else even knows it exists. Then, slowly, that money trickles down through the economy. As it spreads, it starts bidding up prices, stocks, real estate, goods, services. By the time it finally reaches you in the form of your paycheck, maybe a small raise, prices have already gone up. You're standing at the end of the hose, getting hit with the diluted, devalued leftovers. Economists call this the Cantillon Effect, and it's one of the most important concepts in money that nobody teaches you in school. New money benefits the people who get it first and punishes the people who get it last. And guess where you and I are in that line? Dead last. Why you feel poorer even with a raise. This is why you feel like you're on that treadmill. Let's say you get a 3% raise. Congrats! You earned it. But if inflation is running at 5%, and let's be honest, the real inflation you feel at the grocery store is often higher than the official number, you just took a 2% pay cut. Your paycheck went up, but your purchasing power went down. You can afford less than you could last year, even though you're technically making more money. This is the invisible tax at work. And here's the brutal part. It's a flat tax on everyone who holds cash, but it hits the poor and middle class the hardest. Why? Because wealthy people don't store their wealth in cash, sitting in a checking account. Their wealth is tied up in assets, real estate, stocks, private businesses, commodities, things that can't be printed. So when the money supply expands, what happens to those assets? Their value gets bid up. More dollars chasing the same number of houses, the same shares of stock, the same pieces of land. The wealthy get richer on paper and in reality, while you, storing your hard-earned money in digital dollars, get quietly poorer. The system isn't broken. It's working exactly as designed. It's a massive, invisible wealth transfer from savers and wage earners to asset holders.
The high-yield savings account trap? Now here's where it gets even more frustrating. You've probably been told to be responsible and put your money in a savings account, right? Maybe even a high-yield one. They offer you 1%, maybe 2.5% if you're lucky, and you feel good. You think, at least I'm earning something. But let me ask you this. If your savings account pays you 2%, but real inflation is running at 4 or 5%, you are still losing money. You're losing 2 to 3% of your purchasing power every single year, and the bank is paying you a pittance to watch it happen. It's like they're slowly boiling you alive, and they gave you a warm towel to make you feel comfortable while it's happening. That high-yield account, it's It's a psychological trick. It's designed to make you feel like you're winning, like you're being smart and responsible, when in reality, you're still getting robbed. The gap between what your savings earn and what inflation steals is the exact measurement of the invisible tax. And it's one of the quietest, most efficient wealth transfers in human history. Nobody's kicking down your door. They don't have to. You're handing it over willingly every single day because you don't see it happening. So what do you actually do about it? All right, enough of the bad news. Let's talk about what you can actually do. Because once you see this game, you can start playing it differently. Here's the shift. Stop thinking of dollars as something to accumulate. Start thinking of dollars as units of energy that are constantly decaying. Your money is melting like ice. Every day you hold it in cash, it's worth a little bit less. So your mission is not to hoard dollars. Your mission is to convert those decaying dollars into durable, income-producing assets before they lose their power. You need to become a collector of assets, not a collector of currency. Now, I know what you're thinking. Okay, cool, but I don't have $1 million to go buy real estate and stocks. I get it. Neither did I. But here's the thing. You don't need to be rich to start thinking like this. You just need to shift where you're putting your money, even in small amounts. Instead of letting $5,000 sit in a savings account, losing 3% a year to inflation, you could, 1, invest in index funds or ETFs. You're buying tiny pieces of real companies, businesses that produce goods, earn profits, and adjust their prices with inflation. You don't need $100,000. You can start with $100. 2, buy real assets, even small ones. Maybe it's learning a high-income skill and turning it into a side business. Maybe it's buying tools or equipment you can rent out. Maybe it's a small piece of rental property through a real estate crowdfunding platform. The point is, own things that produce value, not just sit there. 3, understand that time is your biggest asset. The earlier you start converting cash into assets, the more time you give those assets to grow and compound. Inflation works against you every year you wait. 4, educate yourself on how money actually works. Read about monetary policy. Understand why central banks do what they do. Follow what's happening with the money supply. You can't fight a war you don't understand. The wealthy aren't smarter than you. They just understand the rules of the game. They know that cash is trash over the long term and they act accordingly. Why they'll never teach you this? Here's the uncomfortable truth. This will never be explained to you in school. Why? Because inflation is the engine of the modern financial system. It allows governments to fund massive spending without raising taxes directly, which would be politically unpopular. It lets them quietly erode the real value of national debt. It keeps people working harder, chasing a standard of living that keeps slipping just out of reach. You're not supposed to notice. You're supposed to blame the grocery store, the gas station, your boss, the other political party, anyone but the system itself. And as long as you're focused on fighting over crumbs, you won't realize that the people at the top of the money pipeline are eating the whole cake. I'm not saying this to make you cynical or hopeless. I'm saying it because once you see the game, you can play it differently. You can stop being a passive victim and start being an active player. So let's bring this home. You are not in a race to make more money. You're in a race to convert your labor into real wealth faster than inflation can steal it. Stop measuring your success by the number in your bank account. Start measuring it by the productive assets you own, the things that generate income, hold value, and exist outside this system of slow, deliberate decay. Here's what I want you to do this week. Pick one action. Just one. Maybe it's opening a brokerage account and buying your first index fund, reading one book on how money and inflation actually works, moving some of your dead savings into an asset that pays dividends or generates income, starting that side project you've been putting off. Just one step in the direction of becoming an asset holder, not just a paycheck casher. Because here's the truth. The invisible tax isn't going anywhere. Inflation is baked into the system. It's a feature, not a bug, but you don't have to be its victim. You can learn the rules, you can adapt, you can fight back. The first way to win a war is seeing the battlefield, and now you finally can. If this opened your eyes, drop a comment and let me know. Now go turn those melting dollars into something real. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.